Request to Mr. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu GCFRO to amend Niger Delta Development Commission NDDC law to remove non-Niger Delta oil producing states of Abia, Imo and Ondo from the NDDC Act of 2000. I have taken it as my obligation to inform the government and people of Nigeria the real situation leading to the establishment of NDDC. But regrettably and sorrowfully today, I am the oldest stakeholder of the NDDC in the entire Niger Delta under our group, the South-South People's Conference, SOPEC. At this juncture, I wish to quote an extract from the communique of one of the earliest meetings of our organization, SOPEC, held at Petroleum Training Institute, PTI, from Warri Delta State, which was ably attended by prominent personalities and governors on 9th October 1999, and I quote, "The meeting, which was held to hear the report of the 13-man SOPEC delegation to Abuja in August to meet with Mr. President Chief Olusegun Obasanjo GCFRO and members of the National Assembly concerning amendments to the Presidential Bill on the establishment of the Niger Delta Development Commission NDDC, and to propose further amendments necessary to protect the interests of the Niger Delta people, was presided over by the SOPEC chairman, His Royal Majesty Pere Dr. H.J.R. Dakpabriye, and supported by the deputy chairman of SOPEC, Chief E.K. Clark. The meeting also registered the attendance of His Excellency Obong Peter Atta, the Executive Governor of Akwa Ibom State, government representatives of the South-South states, traditional rulers and chiefs, opinion leaders, women groups, youth, and non-governmental organizations." End of quote. Therefore, without being immodest, I consider myself the oldest stakeholder of NDDC who is alive. But unfortunately, NDDC, like UMPADEC, has failed to achieve its objectives. At this juncture, it may be necessary to state how the NDDC bill included Imo State, Abia State from the southeast, and Ondo State from the southwest of Nigeria. We fully participated when President Obasanjo, the initiator of the bill, invited us, His Royal Majesty Dr. H.J.R. Dakpabriye OON JP, my humble self, and Senator Fred Brume as leaders, and we went with some other leaders of the South-South People's Conference for dinner at Aso Rock on the 22nd of August 2000. And during that interaction with Mr. President, we went through the drafted bill of NDDC, which he said he will later submit to the Attorney General of the Federation for necessary action. Extracts of the discussion we had with him are reproduced here under, and I quote, he informed us that Northerners were opposed to the establishment of NDDC. Instead, they also demanded Shiroro Dam Commission, and President Obasanjo advised that we should accept the three non-Niger Delta oil producing states of Abia, Imo, and Ondo states in order to have their added votes of the southeast and southwest legislators for the bill to succeed. I also asked him if there is oil in Sokoto, and that will Sokoto be part of the Niger Delta, and we moved on. End of quote. Thereafter, we met the representative of three states of the National Assembly, and they were very happy. We discussed the strategy that will contribute to the passing of the NDDC bill, and we did the lobbying together. Some vicious and unpatriotic Nigerians saw the establishment of the NDDC as a denial or deprivation of the Nigerians from enjoying the wealth that accrues from the oil resources from the Niger Delta. It is noted that during the National Conference of 2014, we recommended the setting up of the Northeast Development Commission to rebuild the war-devastating areas of Northeast, as it was done in Germany and the rest of Europe, called the Marshall Plan after the Second World War of 1939 to 1945. After the agreement with the members of the National Assembly from the three southern states, the Joint Committee went round to lobby National Assembly members, including the Speaker of the House of Representatives, the president of the Senate and chairman of Appropriation Committee, when President Obasanjo refused to sign his own executive bill, which he presented to the National Assembly. The National Assembly used their constitutional power, and after 30 days, they signed the bill into law. Why I demand for the removal of the 3 states from NDDC. The NDDC Establishment Act 2000, signed by the Senate President Shuba Kadigbo, outlined the functions of the 9 states and who should be the executive management. One should bear in mind that the addition of Ondo, Imo, and Abia was a political aberration. However, Cross River State was in the NDDC Act. Then Bakassi was removed to Cameroon, and literal oil dispensation removed wells in the high seas. The final blow came with Akwa Ibom State winning the ownership of the oil wells on the land in the Supreme Court. This has resulted in Cross River being a zero contributor to the NDDC. I would like to refer to the relevant sections of the Act in my write-up. Part 1, Section 4 of the NDDC Act states, and I quote, "The office of the chairman shall rotate amongst the member states of the commission in the following alphabetical order: 1. Abia State, 2. Akwa Ibom State, 3. Bayelsa State, 4. Cross River State, 5. Delta State, 6. Edo State, 7. Imo State, 8. Ondo State, and 9. Rivers State." Part 2, Section 7, Subsection 2. In exercising its functions and powers under this section, the Commission shall have regard to the varied and specific contributions of each member state of the Commission. Part 4, Section 12, Subsection 1. There shall be for the Commission a managing director and the executive directors, who shall be indigenes of oil producing areas, starting with the member state of the Commission with the highest production quantum of oil, and shall rotate amongst member states in the order of production. End of quote. It is true that the law provided for the rotation of the executive positions among the states based on the quantity of production, but did not mention the sequence of rotation among the states. But the federal government decided that these executive positions only rotate among the 4 majorities of oil producing states, i.e. Delta, Akwa Ibom, Bayelsa, and Rivers State, based on equity, fair play, and justice, because it will be unreasonable and chaotic to extend it to the minority oil producing states, including Abia, Cross River, Edo, Imo, and Ondo State. For instance, whereby Imo is producing 1.02% of the total oil production by the 9 states. Under the rotation, the chairmanship, in accordance with the Act, started with Abia State, where Chief Oyema Ugochukwu became the permanent chairman. Thereafter, he was replaced by a representative from Akwa Ibom State in the person of Ambassador Sam Edem. Bayelsa State took over from Akwa Ibom State when Air Commodore Larry Konya was appointed. Cross River took over after Bayelsa State, and Senator Bassey Ewa Henshaw was appointed, and he did not finish his term when he was removed by the succeeding federal government and was replaced by Senator Victor Ndoma Egba. After Cross River State, it will now the turn of Delta State. But what happened? Adams Oshomole recommended Pius Odubu, his former deputy governor, when it was not yet the turn of Edo State, to produce the commission chairman against the law established the commission. Later, there were accusations and counter-accusations between the interim management committee and the National Assembly, where some of us were callously insulted that we, the leaders of the Niger Delta, looted NDDC treasury by award of contract which were paid for and never completed. We, the leaders and stakeholders of NDDC, vowed at the time that we will no longer allow the corruption and the mess that characterized the commission. The Pan-Niger Delta Forum (PANDEF), under my leadership, set up a committee to secretly and discreetly investigate the happenings in the NDDC. Incidentally, the NDDC now report to the Ministry of Niger Delta Affairs instead of the presidency via the secretary to the government of the Federation. But the transfer of the NDDC to the Ministry of Niger Delta has been legalized. Has not been legalized. The politicians from the Niger Delta, including Senator Adams Oshomole, Senator Vioma Ngige, Right Honorable Rotimi Amechi and Chief Timi Presiva had appropriated the board positions among themselves. But later, the Minister of Niger Delta Affairs, now Senate President, Senator Godswill Akpabio, intervened and set up an interim committee and another set of illegal sole administrators who held that position alone and singly operated the budget of the commission amounting to billions of naira for a period of about 2 years. Again, a new board was put up by the same politicians, appointing the managing director from Bayelsa State and the executive director for finance from Edo State, Major General Charles Arabere, and executive director of project from Owo in Ondo State in the person of Charles Ogumola, and chairmanship now reverted to Delta State with the appointment of Mrs. Loretta Onoshe, and also created the position of executive director for corporate services, even though not provided for in the NDDC Act, and appointed Ifedayo Adegunde from Ondo State. The President Tinubu government at last decided to correct the position, and a new board has now been set up in accordance with the NDDC Act. I repeat, by convention and understanding, the federal government has conveniently restricted the management position to the 4 major oil producing states, i.e. Delta State, Akwa Ibom State, Bayelsa State, and Rivers State. The crisis has not died down because these 3 non-Niger Delta states of Abia, Imo, and Ondo are insisting that they must occupy the post of managing director and the 2 executive director for finance and executive director for projects, and for that, Imo State oil producing community, in a publication in Daily Sun newspaper on Thursday 12th October 2023, asked the court to stop the inauguration of board members. An extract of the publication is reproduced hereunder, and I quote, the indigenes of the oil producing communities of Imo State have approached the Federal High Court for an order restraining and prohibiting President Bola Tinubu prohibiting President Bola Tinubu for swearing in Dr. Samuel Ogbuku, Mr. Bona Iyaye, Mr. Victor Atai, and Ifedayo Abegunde, or any other persons purportedly confirmed by the National Assembly as managing director and executive directors of the Niger Delta Development Commission (NDDC). In an originating summons filed before the Moja Division of the Court by Honorable Ajoku Philip, Chief Jones Omera, and Incorporated Trustees of Kingdom Human Rights International Foundation, the communities are contending that the appointment of director and executive directors of the NDDC offends the express provision of Section 12, subsection 1 of the NDDC Act, and is therefore illegal, unconstitutional, null and void, and of no effect whatsoever for non-compliance with the provisions of the law. Besides, President Tinubu orders listed as defendant are the Attorney General of the Federation (AGF), the National Assembly, and the Niger Delta Development Commission (NDDC). In addition, the plaintiffs through their counsel, Okere Kingdom Unandi, are seeking an order of court compelling and mandating President to immediately withdraw the nomination of Dr. Samuel Ogbuku, Mr. Boma Iyaye, Mr. Victor Antai, and Ifedayo Abegunde as managing director and executive directors of the Niger Delta Development Commission respectively, and to immediately appoint nominate indigenes of oil producing communities from Imo State, Cross River State, and Edo State who have not previously held the positions managing directors and executive directors as mandated in Section 12, subsection 1 of the NDDC Act, and such other orders as the court may deem fit to make in the circumstance of this case. End of quote. It is true that the NDDC Act provides for the appointment of managing director and the 2 executive directors, executive director of finance administration and executive director of projects for all other activities of the NDDC. The Act lays emphasis on quantity of production of each state. It is the same spirit presidency felt that appointment of staff and infrastructural development by the commission should be determined by the quantity of oil each state produce. But today, the struggle between the management and the three minority oil producing states for equal distribution of appointments and infrastructural development, and in fact, the amount staff from the three non-Niger Delta states combined and the infrastructural development in equal basis. This is the current production level of NDDC state as shown here below. State Delta, total oil production 32.59%. Akwa Ibom, total oil production percentage 19.26%. Bayelsa 19.09%. Rivers 18.85%. Edo 4.31%. Ondo 2.89%. Imo 1.02%, and Abia 0.76%. Then the source is Office of Accountant General of the Federation. At this juncture, it may be necessary to liken this quantity of oil produced to a limited liability company which also has majority shareholders and minority shareholders. It is not possible for a minority shareholder of even 5% to be the chairman or managing director of the limited liability company. It will be unfair and inequitable for a state that produces 1.02% to produce managing director of the NDDC. I know Nigeria as we are, the tendency will be to develop its own minority oil producing state to develop their area at the expense of the majority of oil producing states, which incidentally happen to sum up to over 90% of the oil. It is therefore unreasonable, provocative, and selfish for Imo State, which produces only 1.02% quantum of oil, to demand removal of the chief executive of NDDC board that has been confirmed by the Senate. NDDC should remain the 6 original Niger Delta coastal states. All other oil producing states should establish a relationship with the oil companies and the federal government of Nigeria, particularly now that oil has been found in other parts of Nigeria, including Anambra, which is already producing 0.9%, Bauchi, Gombe, Nasarawa, Kogi, and Lagos states. They cannot therefore be part of NDDC. Finally, all the supervisory committees of both National Assembly and board committees have not been alive to their mandates. The only interests have been in project and finance. This was the catalyst for the rot in the NDDC. This cycle of rottenness must stop, and I also request Mr. President to publish the report of the forensic audit for which the federal government spent so much money, and action which was hailed by Nigerians. I reliably learned that the report was not submitted to Mr. President but to the Federal Attorney General, Mr. Abubakar Malami, who had already taken action by directing the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission (EFCC) to probe some of the defaulted companies found liable to the forensic report. Otherwise, the corruption in NDDC will continue, particularly among the politicians, both in National Assembly and the political parties. Signed by Chief Dr. Ike Clark, OFRCON, convener and leader of Niger Delta Forum, PANDEF.
Nigeria, where everybody is equal, and where any one of us, any Nigerian can rise to the highest position in this country. A federation where nobody is first class and others are second class citizens. We are equal. So for me to demand for the separation, for the removal of non-Niger Delta states from NDDC is because I want NDDC to succeed. And the success of NDDC is a success for the whole Nigeria. So, there was a reason why Abia, Imo, and Ondo were brought into NDDC. They're not geographically, they're not part of Niger Delta. They're not coastal states. So it was a political aberration. But what we do, when we met with Mr. President Obasanjo on the 22nd of August, 2000, at the Aso Rock, myself, it was led by President Takwabriye, who was the national chairman of SOPEC. National chairman of SOPEC. And other leaders followed us. We examined the bill. It was then he told us that some northerners are opposed to the success of the bill at the National Assembly because they too want such commission to be set up for the Shiroro Dam project. So, if something was not done, they will vote against the bill. As a result, he was suggesting to us that Abia, Imo from the southeast, and Ondo from the southwest should be included to make it 9 states that will make up NDDC. And the combined votes of these people will class the votes of the northerners. So I ask the question, Mr. President, if by tomorrow oil is found in Sokoto, will Sokoto become part of Niger Delta? So you say, he used to call me Ike. You come again. Let's move on. That's okay. So at the end, they were included in the draft. And we now moved to National Assembly, met with the members from these 3 states. And they were all very happy. And to cut a long story short, at the end of the debates, President Obasanjo refused for reasons best known to him. I know some of them, but I don't want to explain them. To sign the bill he presented to the National Assembly into law. So we started lobbying again, and as a result, the National Assembly used their power under the Constitution by confirming the bill after 30 days. And that's why President of the Senate, Senator Kadibu, was the one who signed the bill into law in 2000, including these 3 states. For a long time, they worked together. But after some time, they started agitating that they must. It's all in my paper. I've read it. So I thought there was time now. If NDDC should succeed at all, these 3 states, for political reasons that were included as parts of Niger Delta, should now be severed from the Act, from the NDDC Act. Particularly now that oil has been found in the places I mentioned in my statement. Anambra now produces even more oil than Abia. Today, Kogi, Bauchi, another state, Lagos, they said the oil has been found in these areas. Are these areas going to be part of Niger Delta and to be in NDDC? I said no. Federal government should make different arrangements to accommodate them as it is in the NDDC. Same principle to be used. Not to disorganize the NDDC we want to succeed. That is my main reason. But you know very well, NDDC is like a limited liability company. You have majority shareholders, you have minority shareholders. A situation where a minority shareholder in a limited liability company would like to become the managing director of the company or even the chairman. It's unreasonable and improper and chaotic. It will create a chaotic situation. That's the main reason why I said no. Let us part in a peaceful way. I'm saying this because today I'm the oldest stakeholder of NDDC. And no one else can speak more than what I'm saying now. And I'm speaking on behalf of our people of the Niger Delta. Enough is enough. I also said the most advertised forensic auditing has come and gone. Federal government spent a lot of money. Everybody praised Mr. President Buhari at the time. But the result, the report had been submitted, not to Mr. President direct, but I learned was submitted to the former Federal Attorney General, who on his own as usual has directed his boys in the EFCC to probe some people. I know 2 or 3 people came to complain to me. They've been invited by EFCC. Now the figures quoted in my statement, where Abia produced less than 1%, where Imo 1.2%, where Edo State 4%, and where Ondo State less than 3%. For the month of August this year. So these figures they vary from time to time, but the minority shareholders in the limited company remains the same. In NDDC remains the same. There's no time any one of them had produced more than 5%. And for them to go to court to seek for the reversal of the board already confirmed by the Senate is unfortunate, very provocative. Thank you and God bless. Is it by Imo State with 1% production that should now be the managing director? We are talking proper situation. It's both unreasonable and provocative. They have benefited. I mentioned it here. The 3 minority states, Abia, Imo, and Ondo, have more staff in NDDC than the majority states. The figures are there. Go and check up. They have more development, sometimes on equal basis. Nobody discriminated against them. They have benefited more than the majority states. So nobody has used them and dumped them. They benefited a lot from it. But after 23 or 25 years, it's only proper the situation be reviewed in the best interest of the commission. Now that there have been so much problem in it. Does that answer your question? They can form their commission. The 2, Abia, Imo, and Anambra, can form Southeast Development Commission. Anything wrong about that?
Don't you think it will become cumbersome for the government?
Pardon?
I say, won't it become cumbersome, making every other section to have their own?
No, it will be. Not today. We have Northeast Development Commission, and the representative from all the regions. Today, one of the problems we have there too is that the NDDC law provide for 3 non-oil producing states. And they have always been members from the north. And they now nominate very powerful politicians who will come and overshadow the real members of the Niger Delta. Enough is enough, as I said. Thank you.